That is quite a view, and this is quite a car. I have never seen a man suit a car more than that.
Nobody ever wanted a 5-door Golf GTI.
Hello and welcome to the Modversation, a modification conversation. In today's episode, episode 4, as promised, I'm going to show you how I took the car from this condition to this condition. And it wasn't that hard, although it seemed pretty daunting. So I come downstairs one morning, and normally I prefer to park my car in a single space. In Berkeley, there are plenty of these spaces. It's just a space in front of a residential that has 2 driveways around it and no space for any other car but one. One car. These are my favorite ones because I don't like the idea of young drivers bouncing off my car as they park. And there was one night when I couldn't find that single space. I have about 4 or 5 close by to choose from that I always can get, but this particular night, it must have been some sort of party night for the campus. I live south of campus, pretty close to UC Berkeley, in a nice posh neighborhood, but still, it's students all around me. So I couldn't find the spot one night, and I had to park in a spot like this where I'm in the front. So I figured, in the morning I would come down and put my car in a safe place, in a single spot. But over the course of the night, maybe one of these students was a little tipsy and they bounced off of my car as they left the space. The middle car bounced off of my car. So I come down in the morning to this. I see this damage where a car had scraped my bumper and took a lot of paint off with it. I was staggered. I love this car. I'm a little obsessed with my GTI, like everyone is, right? It's my baby. So I was devastated. I moved it pretty quick to my usual spot and depressedly walked to work, which it's a job that I'm not really that thrilled about. But on the way there, I remembered that I already had the materials. I already had the Volkswagen black A1 paint, and I have the clear coat. Now,
it's quiet and dignified and elegant.
I don't really know what I'm doing. I'd have never painted a car before, but I remembered there was a Drivetribe video where Mike Fernie's being showed by Andrew Greenhouse how to fix James May's Tesla, which had a similar sort of scraping. And actually, it was more of a dent that they had to fix with filler, but I just needed a little bit of filler because it was a scratch. So I watched this video a lot, like 5 or 6 times, to really get the hang of it. This clip right here, I'm going to show you now. This is the video that I watched that gave me the know-how to feel good about proceeding forward.
It's like when you've got like a repair, like that repair there, there was a little dent, so we put some filler in.
Yep.
But what people don't realise, that filler is that big, isn't it?
Yep.
So as a rule, your primer will be double that now. So the primer will come to say there, and then the paint will double again. So the paint will come to there.
So it's just like a
radius. So it keeps growing. So if you've got a small dent that big, you fill it, then your primer becomes that big, then your paint becomes that big, then your lacquer becomes that big. So a small dent makes a massive job sometimes.
So that's why, despite just this, we're scotch padding basically the entire bumper.
Yeah, because you'll lose it, you'll lacquer it out. So, like I said, it'll be primer, paint, then a bit of lacquer.
It's one of those situations where the car looks a hell of a lot worse to then make a hell of a lot better.
It does.
So I now have the know-how. So from the video, I realized that I needed a couple of things. I needed to get myself some sandable primer that I could, spray on there, sand it, spray on there, sand it, and just get it looking nice. So I got on Amazon and got that. And I had a bunch of paper masking tape and some vinyl tape and plenty of plastic bags, because I have a job where there's an office supplies closet. So I had a nice fat roll of plastic bags and I was ready to go. So, and I was apprehensive at first because I have to do all of this in that single space on the street. There is a garage under the building, but I don't I don't have permission to park there. It would cost extra money a month. And my rent is perfect the way it is. I don't want to add any rental increase. And the garage really isn't safe. It's not guarded. There's no cameras. And it's a place where, our laundry room is down there and it gets broken into a lot, which is why I don't use it. So also there's a steep grade. Like the driveway to get down there is really steep. So I don't want to ruin my clutch waiting for pedestrians to get out of my way as I'm trying to get out of this place, right? It would just be, I could see myself after months and months just burning out my clutch with these pedestrians. So I don't want to even I don't want to use the garage at all for this. I have to do everything on the street. So I came downstairs with all my materials, laid them out, and proceeded to get to work on this project. And honestly, it went great. I mean, if I had had more time and if I didn't feel, when you're doing this on the street, you have looky-loos. I didn't really want to be shaking my paint can too loud because, that's when people peer out through their blinds to see what you're doing. I just had my head down and went to work, and this is what happened. My step-by-step process. So first of all, you got to clean the area. And by this, I mean clean it well. Get your microfibers out and give it a good cleaning. Then, I think it's very important, and for me, this was the key, was to pick the lines. I didn't want to paint the entire bumper. So I decided that I was going to use the lines that went sort of along the back tail light. Masking. This was the hardest part for me. Getting all the plastic bags cut and ready and the tape ready. And then realizing that you have to do a lot more than just where it is. You have to mask almost the entire car, which I did. Then sand and prime. Get your sandpaper, the finest you can find, and make sure it's wet and give it a little sanding. Now, I dry sanded it first, and then between the primer coats, I did a little wet sanding, but I wish I'd done more of it. I just didn't have the know-how, and it was an extra step that I will do once I plan on painting the entire bumper. So for me, it was 3 times. So I would sand and prime, and then I would let it dry for 20 minutes, and then I would sand and prime, and 20 minutes, and sand and prime. And then it was time for the black paint. And so black paint, 20 minutes, black paint, and then clear coat, same thing. And for me, this was the great step-by-step process. Let's look at the tools you're going to need. First of all, clean it. Clean the area, get it nice and clean. Brush and microfiber cloth. Once you get it all clean, you're going to need plastic bags. I mean, I would cut them at the seam, right? And make sure they're big and long. And then use whatever tape you have and tape. Make sure you pick your lines and tape your lines. And then mask the car, over mask it. I mean, once you think it's masked, it's not masked enough. And I did have a spot under the hatch that I should have masked that still has some primer on it that I had to paint over. So mask. If you think you've done it enough, do a little bit more. Now, then, once it's masked, you're ready for, sanding. So I started off with 120. And I used a little bit of a piece of wood, and I got it on there, and I just sanded. And I did it until it was, nice and smooth, and I didn't have any rough edges, and I knew where I wanted to go. So I started with this, and then I ended up using, 800 and even a 1500 just to make it smooth. You might have your own way of doing it, this worked for me. So I started with 120, and then I went on to 800 and the 1500. So you've sanded. Now, I got this 2-in-1 primer. It's filler and sandable. So I did this, and it worked great. And I used the 800 to keep it smooth spray. So 20 minutes in between, and give yourself time for it to dry, and then you can sand it. So in between the sandable primer coats, there was an extra about 15 minutes each time where I made sure it was dry, and I gave it a light sanding touch. It was my first time, so I was a little overcautious with this. So you might need less time in between, but I needed a little extra time for the sanding. So this was a good 3 times of thick coats. So I recommend Rust-Oleum Automotive Primer 2-in-1 Filler and Sandable. And that came next day shipping. Then I went to Touch Up Direct earlier in the year and got this kit for my model of GTI Volkswagen A1 Black. And it comes with, here's it's LOA41A1 Black. So here's the paint, and it is a perfect match. And I did this coat, as you'll see in the footage, a good few times, and gave it a good 20 minutes in between. And it went great. So that's the A1 Black. And finally, Clear Coat from Touch Up Direct. It comes in the kit. If you type in your Volkswagen number, your paint number, and you can find that information. Mine's on the inside of the fuel filler cap and in the back. Because in Brazil, I guess they put it in both places. And my car was built in Brazil. So here's the Clear Coat from Touch Up Direct. Now, these are all the tools you need. And I'll take a quick little photo here of everything. So you have everything in one picture. Yeah. Cheers. Hello and welcome to my voiceover. I am not someone that enjoys any kind of royalty-free garbage music. To me, it's all trash. And I'm not at a point in my life where I like to listen to a lot of music anyway. And I've noticed in my life that we are constantly being bombarded with garbage music. No matter where you go, work, school, anywhere. I think it's just, I don't need to hear music all the time. I don't need it. And when I'm watching a YouTube video, I can't stand it when I have to fast forward or skip because of some loud, obnoxious, goofy, horrible music. So I'm just going to do some voiceovers and hope that you like that. The people's car. The Volkswagen Golf has been around since the early 1970s and the hot hatch GTI version since 1975. And I feel the Mark IV Golf is one of the better versions. I mean, I love Mark 1, 2, and 3, but for me, the Mark IV was a mindful shift towards a more stylish and luxurious car. Leather seats and the newly designed interior with high quality materials and soft touch. And don't forget the VR6 2.8 liter engine and extras like heated seats and 200 horsepower is not too shabby. It feels pretty modern to me. I don't have a turbocharged version. I have the naturally aspirated non-turbo. That's a solid engine. And the Mark IV Golf GTI was one of the best-selling cars in Europe and the USA, and still a common sight on the roads. The Mark IV is very desirable. The Mark IV steering wheel is smart-looking and simple. No buttons or switches. I even like the aged leather sun-kissed patina on the 23-year-old steering wheel. And yes, she has a dent or two and some key vandalism and troublesome paint spots to be addressed, but all in good time. And restoring this car to factory concourse is modern and fun for me and challenging to say the least. As I restore this car without a garage or even a driveway, performing modifications and repairs on the streets of Berkeley, California with precision and detailed step-by-step planning to help you. Maybe you have a Mark IV that you're on the fence about doing some modifications to. Maybe you don't have access to a garage or a driveway. Maybe all you have is street parking. Well, I hope that my footage of my modifications will help you tread this course. Thank you. So, how did I do, right? I think that it went great. I mean, for what it was I can't drive around with my car damaged like that. So for me, it was a couple of weeks of feeling embarrassed while driving. I think that it went great for a nice afternoon outside when, I would have loved to have been in a clean room with plastic everywhere, but I had to do this on the street with wind blowing and neighbors watching and a little anxious, but I was confident in my step-by-step process, and I was confident that I could get at least this done in a way that I would feel good about. So this is how it looks now, and I hope this helps you. I hope anything that I did on the street, footage-wise, helps anybody out there fix their Volkswagen Golf GTI, because these cars are special. And, when something happens to them, you want it fixed right away, right? And so the feeling that it gives me to look at this thing and know that I did it, I feel like, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling, and I hope this helps you. And thanks for watching the Modversation. In the next episode of the Modversation, I will show you how I upgraded my ECS tuning dog bone mount from the old factory one that was original, and it was affecting shifting and driving. The engine was, I could tell it was moving around way too much, and after a shift, it just wouldn't feel, something was off. And when I went into the car, and I could move the engine with my foot, and I knew it was time. So in the next episode, it's the ECS tuning dog bone mount replacement and upgrade. Cheers. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. If you subscribe and leave a comment that you subscribed, I will reply. And if you have a question about something I've done, I will do my best to help you. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.